Hello everyone, this is Chelsea from Those with Words. Welcome to the channel. Today I'm here to share with you my Happy Mail making process. Happy Mail is basically snail mail or physical mail in your inbox, and this was the first time that I really got back into creating Happy Mail for friends. This was sometime last week when I got out all these supplies, and I thought I would just turn on my phone and record this process and share it on this channel. I'm organizing the various supplies that I brought out for this, and the first thing that I want to highlight are these beautiful letterpress cards from Nikoneko Zakaya. I believe this is from their sampler pack, which I really enjoy because that way you get a wide variety of their beautiful letterpress cards. And I am first picking out this lavender one to create a collage on. I also have various pieces of PET tape samples, and then I think one of them, the little bunny one with the flowers, is a washi tape. I basically picked out a couple pieces from my collection, and I chose to pick the ones with a bunch of different elements on them so I could cut various pieces out and use them for collaging. This is a great example, actually. I'm cutting out a small circle with flowers on it, and then I'm also cutting out this edge piece, this rectangle. I really enjoy that typically PET tapes have a bunch of different elements on one roll. You either have really large major elements or small minor elements. They're usually all strewn about across the actual tape, and I like to use every single piece if I can. And usually the smaller ones I like to incorporate into collages. So now I am trying to piece everything together, the three different elements that I cut out, in order to make them come together. I decided to use that rectangle as sort of like a little anchor, and I put the leaves on top. I'm also using this 365 collage paper, and I've shared this before on the channel. I don't know if it's really available anymore. I've had it for a couple years now, and because it has so many papers in it, I'm still very much working through it. I picked out a piece with a couple different colors, and I'm just ripping out certain pieces that I feel like will go well. And this one small piece I am going to put on the left top area. And instead of using tape runner, which I briefly considered, I decided to use just good old glue because the paper is quite thin, and I wanted to make sure that all the edges would stay down on the letterpress paper. And then I went ahead and put that little piece of PET tape to layer it. Now I'm cutting out some additional pieces here, again, really small parts from the PET tape samples that I have. And then this washi tape piece has a little bunny, which I thought was really cute, as well as this flower. So I decided to cut those out. I believe I cut them out separately, and I will work on those together. Or actually, no, I keep it together. It's been a couple days, if you can't tell, since I recorded this video. So I keep the bunny and the flower together, and I just use that other flower piece, the PET piece, separately. And that is it for this little collage for now. I'm going to make a couple more in this video, and I'm gonna go ahead and also add some stamps later because I realized after this portion of the video that I totally forgot to prep some small stamps to add to the collages. And the whole reason I like to create these collages to include in mail to friends is that I feel like it's a really cool way to gift a small piece of your creativity. Basically, I think what you can do with these collages is you can just put them on a corner of your journal, and it serves as like a nice decoration piece. At least I hope so. I hope they like them. And it's just a really quick way to get your page started, and you don't need to worry about different color scheme or, the way to, pick out different tapes or washi tapes or anything like that, you can just put this on the page and write a little note about your day, and that can be your journaling. I like to collage quite a bit on my own as well, but I don't typically do it on these like letterpress cards because I just do it on my actual journal myself. But I think this is a really great way to be able to share that same element of journaling with others. For this piece in particular, I decided to go vertical. So I just flipped the paper or the letterpress card vertically, and then I just decided to take a slightly different angle to it, nothing too wild. I took out the piece from the previous 365 collage paper piece that I already had out, and then I decided to rip out 2 pieces from it and decorate the edges of the card. Again, in a similar way in the way that I approached the first collage piece. And the central element in this particular collage is going to be that magnifying glass, and that comes from a PET tape that I have. And I also cut out that yellow flower from it too, because I feel like it'll go well with this beige letterpress card. I enjoy overlapping the elements in my collages. So for instance, as you'll see here, I am overlapping the PT pieces on top of the collage paper that I'm using from the pack, and that is intentional. I just really like it when different elements come together, and even the way that I place the collage paper on the letterpress card, you'll see that it touches the edges of the letterpress card, and I don't know what it is. I think it's just the visual element that I find really pleasing to my eyes, and so that is how I tend to decorate. And I'm using this one tiny little flower from the washi sample that I had left over, and I am putting it next to the other one just to kind of make it look like a mini field of flowers, if you will. And that is that for this particular collage piece. This is where I bring in my stamps because I realized that I wanted to add just one to each collage. I am using this bright and clear Shachihata ink pad and these 3 small stamps from my collection just to add a little something, a little extra color and just a different element to the collage itself. I am trying to figure out which stamp I want to place on which collage. And it's just a really simple process. I went diagonally on this one with the memo stamp because that's all the room that I could find on that piece of collage. And this is a person taking like a little picture, and I thought it would go nicely on top of like what looked like a field of flowers. And then this little folded note next to the magnifying glass. The rest of it I'm going to leave blank. I think there is some beauty in leaving a little bit of space in these types of creations, at least to, my creativity. So I'm going to stop there with the collages and move on to making a quick washi sample. I also like to gift washi samples from my collection. I just have these blank cards that I purchased online, and I like to wrap the washi around it just to be able to openly share it with others. And it's just a really great way to use up your stash as well, because realistically, I am not going to use up a whole roll of washi all by myself. That is very rare. It has happened maybe once or twice in my entire stationery journey, which has been 7 years almost now. So I am more than happy to share what's in my collection with others when I have a chance to put together mail like this. So I am just wrapping it around and just making sure that I'm avoiding dust as much as I can. Sometimes it gathers a little too easily in between. And I'm just cutting it off with my scissors, and I'm just making sure that each of the samples end on the same side. And there is the washi tape sample, simple and easy enough to put together, something I really enjoy doing. Another thing that I enjoy sharing in mail is PET tape. So these are two relatively new rolls to me, as you can probably tell from how big they are still. And then this Traveler's Company coffee trip bag holds a bunch of glassine bags. I bought these as a pack a long time ago and I still have very many of them around. And I like to put the collages and, tape samples and everything that I have into these glassine bags before I place them into the mail envelope, just for a little extra protection in case, it rains or snows or, just in transport. I just want to make sure the mail is going to be okay. So I like to use those glassine bags for Happy Mail. And I like to usually gift a full roll of whatever PET tape I'm sharing if I can. Some of them have really, really long rolls. So what I'm going to do here is I cut out the full roll first, and then I'm going to actually go ahead and cut it up. So it's like one full loop. And I'm going to just go ahead and snip them so that it's a little bit more manageable to pack in mail. I know some people like to roll it all together into like a tiny little roll instead. But I find that if I do that, well, first of all, I'm not quite skilled enough to make it look nice. And then second of all, sometimes the PET tape can crease. So I like to do it this way. And I'm just making sure that the PET tape, especially this particular roll, flattens out as much as I can. So I put some stuff on top to make sure that the stack will flatten out as much as possible. And then this is a different roll that I have. It's a really fun one. And I'll try my best to link everything down below as well. I'm also trying to find the end of the full loop. There is that. And then I will also be going through a similar process where I cut these up and put them together. I think it's really fun to be able to share your collection this way. And of course, there's always the chance that whatever you're sending to people, they might already have it in their collection. But I think it's the thought that counts. Like I've also received mail in the past where I received a washi sample and I realized, oh, I do have this roll, but I just love the fact that the person thought of me while looking at that washi tape, and that's why they packed it for me, and that means a lot to me. Something I realized while trying to pack the PET samples actually is that it was a little bit messy. So I got out these two paper clips and I am trying to keep them together just so that when the person opens this mail, they're not going to be dealing with a bunch of different PET pieces flying around on their desk. And that is the whole point of me clipping these together and putting them into the glassine bag. I realized I should probably use a separate one for the washi tape sample as well as the collages, just so I can put the glassine bags a little bit apart inside the envelope. And to me, this is important so that I can fit everything in a letter size envelope and spread it out a little bit so that the thickness of the envelope is manageable. And that way it can still travel as a letter size mail without too much trouble, whether it's domestic or international. Last but not least, I'm going to decorate a little bit of the envelope. I don't do too much. I used to really go all out on decorating the envelope before I realized that sometimes that means I only write the address of the recipient on the front, and I used to write my own return address on the back. But a couple people told me that that's a little bit risky sometimes with the mailing system. Sometimes they, if they don't sense your address on the top left. I'm from the United States, by the way, so that's at least usually how we do things here. And if they don't sense it, sometimes it doesn't get sent out properly and things like that. So when I heard that, it scared me. So I make sure to leave enough space for everything now in the front. And then I just use a couple of leftover PET pieces that I already had out anyway while I was decorating the rest of the collages and everything else. So I just use the remainder of that to just decorate the front and back just a little bit, just to make it look a little bit pretty. Nothing too wild or detailed, but I think it's a nice way to use up the scraps that you already had out in the first place. And I think that is all I do. So my address will go there, recipient's address, and then the stamp will go right there. So that is how I put together a sample of like a happy mail process for a friend. And I just wanted to share this with you. I typically also like to write something, whether it's a little note or a small letter, and I like to include that as well. In this case, I will be doing that in my spare time, but I hope you enjoyed me sharing this process with you. Again, it's my first time doing this in the new year, so I feel a little bit rusty, but I'm hoping to do this more this year. It's one of my goals. So I will hopefully be sharing more videos of different processes just throughout the year on this channel. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.